One of the most controversial things that you can say in American whiskey is that Jack Daniels is bourbon and not Tennessee whiskey, right?
Oh my gosh.
And I found a true Tennessee whiskey, and in this episode, I'm going to teach you the difference and give you a chance to win samples so that you can taste the difference for yourself for free. So stick around.
Randy, before we get started, of course, we've got to take a moment to thank all of our faithful Patreon patrons. It's Patreon patrons, right?
I think so.
Or Patreon Patreonies.
I got corrected in the comments this week.
Well, someone correct me, I'm sure, because I'm calling them patrons of Patreon.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And so I want to thank you all. If you see those people's names on the screen right now, we need to give them a massive round of applause.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are the reason that we are here. So thank a patron today, and you need to jump in if you're not already involved. There's tons of perks. We'll get to that at the end of the episode, so stick around for that. But huge thank you to all of you who are proud supporters of the Bourbon Real Talk family.
Yep. Now let's get into some disclaimers. We need to know that Kentucky bourbon drinkers hate the idea that Jack Daniels could be bourbon because it's from Tennessee,
right,
and they want to believe that only bourbon can be made in Kentucky.
Seems to be a rivalry there.
And it goes back to the Civil War. Like it's pretty interesting. Jack Daniels drinkers hate the idea that they could be considered bourbon, and that rivalry is definitely because of what happened during the Civil War.
Yeah.
And then both sides kind of perpetuate this idea that Jack Daniels isn't bourbon. But what we're going to talk about in this debate, it all comes down to a process called Lincoln County process, which is sometimes abbreviated as LCP.
You down with LCP?
Yeah, you know me.
Okay.
So every time I have to write about the subject, I know that there's going to be a bunch of drama.
Yeah.
And this song plays in my head.
Okay.
It's that Snoop Dogg song.
Oh,
and it's
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. With so much drama in the LCP, it's kind of hard being a podcaster named Randy. But
Whoa.
somehow, some way, I keep coming up with funky ass podcasts every single day. See? We just get down sometimes.
Dude, this boy got it. You know, he's got them bars, he's got that fire.
Yeah, I got fire.
And so, I mean, again, J. Cole, if you're watching, I know you're a big supporter of the show. You love us. We love you.
Let's collab, bro.
Let's get a feature with this guy.
You're my fave.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now, let's get into what is Tennessee whiskey. Okay. So in 1944, Jack Daniels fought with the TTB for the right to leave the word bourbon off of their label. And their argument was that since Jack Daniels is using this Lincoln County filtration process, which is basically they take sugar maple, they turn it into charcoal, and they filter the newly made whiskey right after it comes off the still through the sugar maple charcoal, that before it ever goes into the barrel to mature. And by the way, it doesn't add any color. It's not like flash aging or anything like that. It's stripping some heavier compounds out of the newly made whiskey. They argued that they shouldn't have to use the term bourbon because they were using the LCP, right? Yeah. And it was developed originally in Lincoln County, Tennessee. And in 1888, the area, the Jack Daniels distillery, was still within the boundary of Lincoln County, but it's now no longer Lincoln County, so sometimes that confuses people. So the term Tennessee whiskey is actually not defined by the federal standards of identity. Okay. And so the only recognition of the term Tennessee whiskey outside of the state of Tennessee have been in trade agreements. And in the trade agreements, it's literally referred to as a straight bourbon whiskey made in Tennessee with no mention of the Lincoln County process.
So it actually calls it a bourbon in the statement, huh?
Correct.
Okay.
And in 2013, the state of Tennessee finally enacted legislation to define what Tennessee whiskey was. And the abridged version is, it's bourbon that's been put through the Lincoln County process. Okay, so there are no differences between the two. Wes, what are you doing?
Dude, Jake, our BRTC friend.
Yeah.
I'm getting him some stuff for Christmas. I'm doing a little Christmas shopping.
Yeah, what are you gonna get him?
I'm thinking like they've got these really cool whiskey stones that are like, you put them in the freezer for a while and then put them in your glass and they're kind of chill your whiskey.
Do you know Jake?
Yeah, he's like one of my best buds.
Yeah. Have you ever seen him drink his whiskey any way but neat?
No.
Okay, well, that's probably not the best.
Okay, yeah, all right, you're right. Okay, so rocks glasses. I'll do like they've got these really cool new style glasses. They're like got this cool shape to them. I'm gonna do those.
He has like 1 million whiskey glasses. Like he doesn't need more glasses, for sure.
Well, I don't know what to get him then. Okay.
Okay. Well, I've got some ideas.
Okay. What? Tell me. What do I need to
Bourbon Real Talk has some really nice sample storage boxes.
He does like samples. He's getting samples from. I mean, he's in the BRTC, so he's getting samples from people all the time.
Yeah. So there's several different sizes, but these are decorative wooden boxes that were designed to hold either 1 or 2 ounce sample bottles.
Okay.
And some of them are actually designed to be more like a gift. Right?
Yeah.
So there's a space for you to store a whiskey tasting glass along with some samples so you can give those to a friend.
Perfect.
And then some of them are just to store all of the samples that you get being a good whiskey enthusiast member.
And I'm actually, I've got a great idea. I'm going to get this like engraved, like with his like name or something special on top.
Great news. We just purchased a giant commercial laser. And for a nominal fee, you can have either logos, pictures, words. You can select your own font. You can have all of that engraved right here.
Yes, I'm going to do a picture of me, like real big right here, so he always can remember how great of a friend I am.
That is a great idea. He could just put something right on top.
All right. Well, so they go to bourbonrealtalk.com. I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Go to bourbonrealtalk.com and pick up your storage box today.
All right. You can thank me later, Jake.
So here's where things get interesting. When Jack Daniels first started in 1866, they used a pot still to make their whiskey. Yeah. In fact, if you go to the distillery, you do the tour, they're going to walk you to the entrance of this cave. There's a river that flows out of it. And the ceiling of the cave has all this soot on it. Right, yeah. And they're going to tell you that Jack Daniels originally set his still up right there, and that was actually soot that was put there by the fire that they put underneath the pot as the heat source, okay? And so we know that they were using a pot still, and at least in the beginning, they were using a wood-fired pot still. And at some point, they converted to steam-powered pots. And then at some point, they converted to a column still. Yeah. And once Jack Daniels converted to a column still from a pot still, you're producing a very different whiskey. And the practice of using the Lincoln County process would have been kind of not necessary. Yeah. Right? Like it was when they were originally using a pot.
Does anybody know when they converted?
You know, it's funny because we know Miss Sherry Moore, who is the director of distillery operations, and I reached out to her, and she didn't know. She asked someone else, and the best answer they could come up with was they think that whenever they reopened after Prohibition, they reopened with a column still.
That makes sense.
But they don't. There's
for sure.
Like that information is not even available online. I also happen to have the contact information of Jack Daniels' historian, and I emailed him, and he never responded. So I don't know if he was just busy or he didn't have an answer. I don't know. But the I guess it's the granddaughter of Lynn Motlow, who ran the distillery for 30 years. She didn't know.
Yeah, so, I would say if anybody knows, it would have been Sherry.
Right. But let's talk about why using a column versus a pot makes the Lincoln County process kind of silly, right? So you ever use a Brita water filter? Yeah. Okay. So Brita water filter, you're putting usually a tap water through this filter, and inside the filter there's charcoal that removes contaminants, right? So would you, for instance, get a Brita water filter and then go buy distilled water and put it through your Brita water filter?
No.
No, why not?
Because it's already been
purified, right? It's already, all of the stuff's already been taken out, right? And so that is my argument for why Jack Daniels is really bourbon. Yeah. Because all of the big brands that we're used to from Kentucky, they all use a column still, and most of the flavor in the whiskey that you have grown to know and love is coming from the maturation process, and it's coming from the barrel because they've stripped out a lot of those grain flavors. Yeah. And so once Jack Daniels switched over to using a column still, and you were stripping out pretty much everything that the Lincoln County process would have stripped out from the pot still distillate, but it's not there to be stripped out anymore. To me, it's like, I don't even know that this is necessary. And I think that's why Jack Daniels as a whole appeals to Kentucky bourbon drinkers when they're open to considering it, right?
Yep.
But most Kentucky bourbon drinkers say that they don't like craft bourbon, okay?
Are they talking mainly because they don't like pot still bourbon?
Exactly, because most craft distilleries, they can't afford to buy a really expensive continuous column still when they're first getting started, right?
Yeah.
And the pot stills do leave a lot of the heavier compounds from the grains in there that the column stills normally strip out. And so it's actually ironic that when somebody gets made fun of in the whiskey enthusiast world for like, they like some craft distillery and someone comes along and they're like, oh, that's swill, blah, blah, blah. I like to get in there and go, oh, well, your problem is that you don't like whiskey. You like barrel, right? You know, and kind of, and to be quite honest, pot still bourbon is probably not my favorite, generally speaking, but it is a bigger flavor than traditional Kentucky, right? So,
I mean, if you don't like pot still bourbon, then you, like Randy said, you probably just don't like the flavors of whiskey in general.
Well, the grain. You certainly don't like the grain flavors.
Or you've fallen victim to major influence from some other whiskey snob that has no business talking about whiskey.
Right. So, in kind of conclusion, when Jack Daniels originally used the Lincoln County process, it probably did improve the spirit quite a bit, what they called mellowed the product. It probably helped them distinguish from their competitors. It would have had a huge impact on pot still distillate. I've actually had pot still distillate pre and post Lincoln County process. It is a black and white comparison. You can totally tell the difference. So to dive deeper into the bourbon, not bourbon argument, you actually bought me a really interesting bottle from Dickel.
Yes, I did.
All right, so
you love it.
Yes, I'm very grateful for it.
He's not great.
But it may not 100% appeal to my palate. But we have two bottles sitting in front of us. Both of them are 17-year.
Yes,
okay,
they are. It's correct.
And this one is says that it's Dickel, and it says that it's Tennessee whiskey.
It's even got George's autograph on it, which is priceless.
And this is known to be Dickel from the Dickel distillery that's bottled by Blue Note, and it says that it's bourbon.
Weird.
And that is because the Lincoln County process does not eliminate a product from being called a bourbon.
Boom.
Because all of the rules about bourbon are about additives. There's only one rule about redactive processes that you can put the spirit through, and it's that it still has to maintain the general characteristics of bourbon.
Yeah.
And so if you use some sort of a filtration, whether it be chill filtration or Lincoln County process or whatever, it can't strip out so much that it doesn't taste like bourbon anymore, but so long as it still tastes like bourbon whiskey, it's still bourbon whiskey.
Yeah.
And the story behind Dickel is kind of funny because they actually attempted to buy Jack Daniels, and Jack Daniels rebuffed them. And they were like, you know what? We are a great big company. At the time, they were Shinley. Now they're called Diageo. And they went down the street, bought a property, and built their own distillery to try and replicate the product. And ironically, they taste totally different. And I guess that it's probably because of the yeast. But this is a pretty classic example of a whiskey that's been through the Lincoln County process that's legally labeled as a bourbon. And as if that was not enough evidence, we have also gone to Jack Daniels.
Yes,
and we have interviewed the assistant head distiller, Lexi, who got, I think, 4 marriage proposals in the comments of the video that we did with her, because
I wonder if any of them succeeded.
No, she had just got married to the guy that worked at the distillery, so she was off the market.
He may have commented. We
love her. She is a brilliant chemist, and she's got that thick country accent.
Yes, she does.
And she was just great, and she admitted on camera that Jack Daniels is in fact bourbon. And if that was not enough,
we have more proof.
Here is a photo of a Jack Daniels bottle that was distributed overseas that says that it is bourbon. So Jack Daniels is in fact bourbon.
Yeah, so quit hating. Okay.
So let's talk then. If Jack Daniels is not true Tennessee whiskey, and by my definition, a true Tennessee whiskey would be a pot still that has gone through the Lincoln County process, then who does make a true Tennessee whiskey?
I know of one that we visited while we were in Tennessee, and it was not only an incredible facility, incredible people, but an incredible product, and that is our friends at Leaper's Fork.
Leaper's Fork.
Such a cool place. Highly recommend. Love the people there, and this stuff is incredible.
It's actually really good whiskey. And I even would recommend, so the interesting thing is that they release a Tennessee whiskey and a bourbon, and the only difference is the Lincoln County process.
That's it.
Okay? And so that gives us the opportunity to taste what the Lincoln County process does to pot still whiskey and why it was so important for Jack Daniels to have that in their original process. And so, I found this place on accident.
Tell the story of the restaurant.
Okay.
Bars / grocery store /
So there's a bar / grocery store /
restaurant
/ music venue.
/ great lunch spot.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a very interesting place.
It's right across the street. It's right across the street from the Leaper's Fork distillery.
Yep.
And it's called Puckett's Grocery.
Yeah.
And I went there for a concert post-COVID. And we're sitting there.
I thought you were going to say Post Malone, which wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, he's probably been there, I'm sure.
Yeah,
anyway,
of course.
After you hear these stories, maybe. And we're sitting there, and behind us is Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC.
Of course he is. Yeah.
And it turns out he lives there in Franklin.
Yeah, it's like Franklin area.
Yeah, and it's like a stone's throw from Justin Timberlake's house and all this stuff. But anyway, so we're like, holy crap! Like, and this place is not like a fancy place. Like the floors aren't even. It's been there for a very long time.
Yeah.
And so the first time I'm there, I'd meet Chris Kirkpatrick, and he's like super nice and all that stuff. And so I take Wes back so that we can film at Leaper's Fork, and we go there to eat lunch because it's such a cool place, and we want to get some B-roll. And we're sitting there, and it's the weirdest conversation because there's this country bumpkin-looking dude that's got like overalls on. Like, I feel like he might have had a piece of straw hanging out of his mouth.
Yeah,
and all the girls that worked there were like coming over and talking to him, and it was just him and the girls that worked there and us. And they're having this crazy conversation, and I hear a girl go, "His eyes? I didn't even know you could donate your eyes." And I'm like, what?
In the most southern accent ever.
What is going on? And then my wife starts to engage him, and he's like, "Yeah, I grew up around here, and in fact, my uncle died in a shootout across the street in front of the post office."
Post office, yeah.
And we're like, this place is the Twilight Zone, right? Like, grocery store, music venue, bar, restaurant,
like
famous people.
Your literal table you're sitting at for lunch is like, I'm pretty sure someone was two-stepping here last night.
Yeah.
Across here smoking a Marlboro Red. And
in the middle of all that, Kathy Lee Gifford walks in.
She just walks in and eats lunch, sits right at the table next to us. Mm-hmm. Incredible.
I see this beautiful, like 60-something, woman come walking in. She had high heels on. She seems so out of place. It's like clickety clack. And she walks by, and my wife slaps me, and she's like, "Do you know who that was?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Kathy Lee Gifford." And I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah, we start Googling pictures.
And sure enough, she lives right around there. Yeah, and then when we got out to the car, there was a whole camera crew. So.
And it wasn't me. I was his camera crew.
Yeah, they had better cameras than us.
It's a little bit.
It was a bigger setup. So that's kind of our story of Leaper's Fork. We love these guys. They make great whiskey.
Yes.
Which brings me to our giveaway.
What should we give away? I mean, we got a lot of options here.
We do. So what I was thinking, we give some high quality Jack Daniels. We give some Leaper's Fork.
Okay.
So
I'm sipping this Jack 10 right now, and it's like really hitting my palate just nice.
All right. Well, we'll do 5 1-ounce sample packs.
Okay.
This will be 5 winners.
In the spirit of giving.
So we're going to do the Tennessee whiskey from Leaper's Fork, the bourbon.
Okay.
That will show you the Lincoln County process on pot still.
Okay.
And then let's do the JD 10.
Perfect.
And the JD 12.
It sounds great.
Yeah, and
I'm actually going to enter this one because I think all of those are great.
Yeah, except for he gets to come over and drink whenever he wants. Although he lives too far away for that
I
to
do,
just
so
be
I
a
have to get my
casual
money's
thing.
worth when I come.
So how do they enter to win?
Well, there's a few things you can do very easily right from your seat right there where you're at right now. On this screen, just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you want to ring the bell. Ringing the bell will notify you of future episodes, and you want to know about those because we do giveaways like this every single episode. So make sure you ring the bell for future notifications. Also, you want to click the link in the description. It'll take you to the web form. You'll fill that out. We'll run a randomizer. We'll post the results publicly for accountability, of course, and we will get you your information. We'll get your information from that form, and then we'll send you your winnings for absolutely nothing. No cost to you. It's free, so why not do it? Okay, do all those things. And if you want to further support the channel, Randy, tell them about the Patreon.
Well, we do have Patreon levels for all budgets, and it's not just a one-way street. We have bonus content, special offers. We do something that's pretty cool called Distillery Takeovers, where we're kind of king for the day at the distillery. It's a curated trip, and we get to do a barrel pick, typically private tours, that type of thing. We do random barrel picks from time to time. We have in-person meetups, monthly virtual bottle shares. You get discounts on your merchandise purchases, but you also get the satisfaction knowing that you're supporting the creation of this type of content, and then you're making it possible for us to do all of the philanthropic things that we do in addition to the channel. You could also support just by buying some of our merch.
Yeah, there's tons of great options, and we are right in the midst of the holiday season right now. As you're watching this, I'm sure you've been thinking, what am I going to get for that whiskey lover in my life? I know they've got everything, and they're real snobby about their whiskey, blah, blah, blah. Go to bourbonrealtalk.com. That stuff on there was made for whiskey lovers by whiskey lovers, okay? And so all of those things were custom curated by Randy, and Lindsay knocks it out of the park. She finds all those products, puts them on the website, and there's tons of great options there for you. Aroma kits, bags, carrying cases, custom Bourbon Real Talk glasses. So go on there, check it out, see what you want to pick up for your friends and family for the holidays.
Sure. And last but not least, I am a residential real estate agent, and I operate in the Dallas and Houston metro areas. And if you're looking for an agent, I'd love to interview you for the job. If you end up closing a deal with me, I do give epic bottles as closing gifts.
Amen to that.
If this is your first time tuning in, I'd like to tell you a little bit about why we do what we do. And we're all about bringing people together around whiskey. And that's a personal mission of mine because I lost a loved one to suicide who had lost a lot of the social connections in his life. And I saw how whiskey was bringing people together and quickly creating those types of social connections. So I thought maybe if I can get you connected to whiskey, the whiskey will do the rest of the job and get you connected to others. But there is kind of a negative side of the whiskey enthusiast world, and it's trolls.
Oh, trolls.
Yeah, and they ruin everybody's fun, and they say hateful things online. But they taught us a couple things. One, we needed to have a forum that was not filled with hate. And so we created Bourbon Real Talk community. It's been a huge success. We have over 30,000 members. There's lots of really great positive things going on in there. People showing support for one another, and they create a lot of opportunities, in-person meetups and all of that stuff. But it also gave us the opportunity to start a suicide prevention nonprofit called Live Stay Project.
Awesome.
And that's all administered through the Bourbon Real Talk world. All of the board of directors were found through there. All of our fundraising efforts are done through there. All of our grants and whatnot, you can submit for grant request through Bourbon Real Talk. So great opportunity there. But those trolls also taught us that if they can show hate to someone online, we can show love to someone online. And that's why we end every episode the same way, and that's this. If you woke up this morning and you're unsure whether or not anyone loved you, just know that we love you. We'll see you next time on Bourbon Real Talk. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Whiskey troll is a person who seeks negative attention and uses contrarian attitudes to derail civil discussion in online forums. They communicate in ways they never would face-to-face because they're keyboard warriors. Their only goal is to make other people feel inferior.
Hey guys, I'm new here. I just got my first Blanton's.
And trust me, you probably paid way too much.
I don't care much about the Blantons, but nice.
There's no way that she didn't buy that at secondary. Idiot.
Oh, I know how you got that bottle.
So, Are you sick and tired of the whiskey trolls running your fun online? Well, that's why we started Bourbon Real Talk Community. Congratulations. Let me know what you think when you open it up.
Hey, welcome to the group. Let me send you over a sample of Blanton's Gold and straight from the barrel. See how you like those.
I remember back to my first bottle of Blanton's. It was the birthday to my son, and we enjoy it every year on his birthday. Congrats.
So if you're looking to connect with some people online who aren't, head over to facebook.com and join Bourbon Real Talk Community today.